Hi everybody, Adrian Plass here.
Yes, and Bridget, hello.
And welcome to number 275 in Sounding the Shallows.
Well, you know what? We have decided that we're going to just pretend that nothing is happening
in
London between anybody, meeting anybody for any grand visits. And we're going to look instead at some emails we've had this week. We feel more happy and comfortable doing that, really, don't we?
And last week we were talking, weren't we, about how as a child things are not just drummed in, but kind of placed into you in such a way that it's very hard to get rid of them later on.
Yeah, I think drummed in is about it, really. I remember one thing that you and I were talking about, which was that if we were pulling a stupid face, don't do that, if the wind, what will happen?
It will,
if the wind blows,
your face will stay like
your
it.
face will stay like it.
And my mother used to say, if you swing on that thing like that, when I was dangerously swinging, you'll fall off and crack your head open like Uncle Fred. Well, actually, Uncle Fred probably just had a slight cut in his head. But my picture of it was that his head split like a melon. And if that was going to happen to me. But I saw Uncle Fred after that, and he had no sign of that happening.
I mean, I think we've had one or two emails about it, and one of them really rang a bell with me, and I think probably with loads of other people. This person said, I can hear my mum telling my older brother, just eat your dinner, there are children in Biafra who would be grateful for that meal. And I mean, I do remember, Adrian, that happening to me, even if it wasn't Biafra, it would be somewhere where children were starving, and feeling that, come on, what about the sprouts that I'm eating? Do they really want my sprouts? It was a real puzzle to me as a child, the idea that if I didn't eat my meal, I would be wasting food that somebody the other side of the world could eat. But there you go.
So not only were you being naughty, wasting food, but you were depriving some sad, starving child from
I mean, obviously there are, you can see the roots of that, can't you? And this person goes on, doesn't he, to talk about how things were pretty tough when he was young. He talks about his dad working in Girling's brake factory on the Wirral, which might mean something to somebody listening, and how more and more people were being employed, and he found himself quite often on strike, and how awful that was for his dad and his mum and the family. And I think that's where this frustration in terms of food and not eating food probably came from.
Well, that meant your whole source of income dried up, didn't it?
Yes.
I don't know what you received in those days, but it would have been really difficult. Yeah.
I mean, he says his mum was very creative in extending trouser legs and patching and darning.
Do we ever darn? No, we don't, do we?
Well, no, we don't. No. But I was thinking about your mum, and your mum actually almost caused a phobia in our eldest son because he really didn't like boiled eggs. And for her, having lived through the war, a nice egg was the epitome of something wonderful to give a young child.
That's right,
and it drove her balmy that he didn't like the white bit of the egg and only liked the yolk. It's that type of thing that we perhaps don't fully understand now, but definitely a load of drumming in happened, really.
Yeah.
We heard another wonderful one, didn't we? And this is from somebody we know very well, but we didn't know about this.
No, this is interesting. She says, one thing I remember vividly was that when I grew up, I should never run out of petrol.
Yes.
Now, this person is now listening avidly to this. You see, my dad had a garage where he sold petrol, and it was situated at the bottom of our garden, right? So anyone would realise, because it was so close, that the nearby house must be where the proprietor of the garage lived. Well, it was not unusual for us to have a knock at the door after closing time and to find someone at the door who had run out of petrol and was asking to be served.
Sometimes it even happened in the middle
of the night. On occasion it even happened in the middle of the night when my dad was in bed. She says, now my dad was always kind enough to serve them. However, he always gave them a stern little lecture about their foolishness and
Yeah, their need to think before they set off to make sure that they got enough petrol.
yeah.
And she said that as an adult, if she gets close to running out of petrol, she starts this terrible panic that she might not get to the garage in time or the service station in time.
Yes, even now.
Even now. And she says she was with a friend who was quite blithely saying, "Oh my goodness, we're nearly out of petrol.
right,
I
yeah.
must get some petrol. I think I can just about get to the garage."
Yeah.
And he nearly finished her off.
Blimey.
So these things that are put into us are very, very, well, they just stay part of us, don't
Yeah,
they?
they certainly do.
And another thing this week, which has really been interesting, is we've had 2 emails about a little fictional girl. Isn't this fascinating? It's a little girl called Andromeda. And I don't know if anybody else knows Andromeda, but this email was talking about having met Andromeda in the Sacred
Andromeda
Diary.
first appears in what it was called the Sacred Diary of Adrian Plus. And Andromeda was a little girl who appeared in Adrian's life and was quite fascinating, but a bit of a nuisance.
Well, one of the things about Andromeda is that a lot had been drummed into Andromeda. Her mother was part of what she would call the Green and Common women, she and her friend Gwenda, her mother and her friend Gwenda, had very, very strong views about women's lib and about the rights of women, about how they should be strong and how they should protest about things. And this person was saying that during a time when she was really struggling, she says her husband had died and they had 2 young children.
She
and
says, although our church was wonderful to us, my nights were hard work. And she says, it's really nice of people to say these things, isn't it? She says, your book helped me enormously to switch off my loneliness at bedtime. And I remember coming to the part where Andromeda stood on her chair to sing in church, "She is Lord," and the congregation started to sing "Home, Home on the Range," because there was a song with that tune, wasn't there? I could see it so clearly in my mind. I was choking, trying not to laugh out loud, so I wouldn't wake up the children. And I carried that picture around for days and was chuckling all over the place.
Well, the thing about Andromeda, and she only appeared for a little while in the first Sacred Diary, but you sort of loved her, didn't you, and decided to give her her own book.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was a book you called The Horizontal Epistles of Andromeda Veal. And the thing about Andromeda is that she was horizontal because, in fact, she's broken her leg. She's broken her femur, which she calls her lemur, and she's on traction in hospital. Or as she says, she's an attraction.
She is an attraction, yes.
So it was lovely to start remembering Andromeda and how much you enjoyed creating her.
I did, and of course we didn't have a daughter then. So in a way she was a sort of unborn daughter. Later our daughter isn't really very much like Andromeda Veal at all.
But the thing about Andromeda is we talk about the drumming in. So she had that on the one side of a mother and a friend trying to be something in the world. But she also had her Uncle Adrian and Auntie Anne and Gerald. And they loved her. So that was the parallel story in her life, wasn't it?
Right,
and the idea was that all the people in the church would write to her and she would write back. And she had lots. And the other email, which is what triggered this, is we had this email saying, "What happened to Andromeda when she grew up, Adrian?" Now there's a challenge for you. And she says a friend and she were discussing how they still say "acey pacey."
Well, I suppose it's not impossible. There could be a book about Andromeda's adult.
Andromeda finished all her letters with the words, can you remember? Logical bonds.
Logical bonds.
Instead of love from.
Yeah, that's right.
She's an amazing character.
I think someone on the mother's side had said love was just a biological bond.
That's right.
And that's the only thing she grasped.
Anyway, it was interesting for us looking back, and Andromeda had a lot of questions. And she met somebody called, or she started writing to somebody called Father John. And she starts by saying, she starts by saying, "Dear Father John, I know you are a halibut monk.
Mm-hmm.
And is it all right for small girls with broke lemurs? I hope you realise we're talking about a broken femur who are attractions in hospital. Do you live in a nunkery? Are you allowed to talk? If you aren't," and so on and so on and so on. Yeah. She then says, "Anyway, I've got some questions to ask you about God and things. Gwenda said religion is the opium of the masses, and Father said, is that why Roman Catholics look so glassy-eyed in church? Mother used to say prayers with me, but now," and it goes on about reading a little book by somebody called Mao Zedong, The Little Red Book.
Yes, she says it's not. I'm not surprised. It's a little red book. Father John. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, here are the questions. All right.
So this is from her letter to
so
Father John.
Here are my questions.
Yeah.
Who made God? Where is God? Where is heaven? Why didn't you stop my lemur breaking? And why don't you bring back Mother from the green and common women when I ask him? Why doesn't God do that? And where is Father? Because Andromeda's dad has had enough and gone off for a while. And why doesn't God bring him back when I ask? And can I have some chocolate soon? And so on and so on.
Mm.
And when will I stop being an attraction? And do you still go to heaven if you're glad your mother cried? Don't tell God I asked that one, for goodness sake. Logical bonds to all in the nunkery. Andromeda Veal.
Oh, it's really
so
funny.
Father John replies.
It's really strange. This is Father John's reply, or part of it. My dear Ms. Veal, may I call you Andromeda? I can honestly say I have never enjoyed reading a letter more than I enjoyed reading yours. I took it into breakfast with me, and I laid it beside my boiled egg so that I could enjoy it in peace. We're not allowed to speak at breakfast, so I nearly got told off by the chief nunk. Now, as to your questions. Oh, Andromeda. I felt quite frightened. Such good questions, and so many of them. We nunks are supposed to know all about these things, but I just sat shaking my head and feeling silly. And then Brother Wilf, who is very old, with 2 little tufts of white sticking up hair, asked me what was the matter. I said that a young friend had written to ask me some very difficult questions about God, and I wasn't sure of the answers. "Down to the lake, Brother John," he said. "Walk down to the lake and see what you find. I will attend to your duties. Away with you." One day, Andromeda, Brother Wilf will turn into a bright smile and just float away to heaven. Anyway, down to the lake I went to see what I would find. I do hope you'll be able to see the lake near our nunkery when your leg is better, Andromeda. It's a shining, peaceful thing, surrounded by all sorts of trees, and there's a soft, quiet path running all the way round, so you can walk and walk until you come back to the place where you started. And here's a secret, Andromeda, just between you and I. Sometimes I skip along that path. Can you imagine me in my long brown habit, the thing I wear, skipping along like some silly old sheep who's forgotten he's not a lamb? Anyway, this time I stood right on the edge of the jetty by the lake, and I folded my arms in the big sleeves of my cloak and had a little chat with God. I put down what we said as though it was a sort of play. FJ is me, by the way, Andromeda. FJ, trying to feel holy and good. God, I have some questions. God, interrupting. Look at that little coot among the reeds, John. Look at his little white face. I expect he's looking for some food. I made him, you know. What do you think? Well, very nice, God, very nice. But these questions, God interrupting again excitedly. John, look what's coming down the bank towards us. It's Mother Goose with her old man and all the kids. Look how she's nagging away at them from the back. Aren't you glad you're a halibut? Look how their fluffy children are marching along in line, minding their P's and Q's. Dad's got his head down, John. He's having a hiss at you, warning you not to start any aggro. You better not start any aggro, John. No joke, a goose peck. Oh, those babies. They're so pretty. It's not bad, eh, John? Yes, it's very attractive, God. It's very nice, but oh, John. Oh, you should have seen it in the beginning. It was so lovely. It will be again one day, too. That's exciting, isn't it, John? Isn't it? Yeah, it's very exciting, God, of course. But God, about Andromeda, God, he does interrupt, doesn't he? John, have you ever made a goose? Father John, no, God. Have you ever built a coot, John? No, God, I've never built a coot. Well, let me tell you that making coots and geese is very complicated. Helping Andromeda really is a piece of cake compared with building a coot. You go and tell her I love her very much, and she'll get all her answers as time goes by. And I'm working on it right now. You will tell her, won't you, John? Yes, God, I will tell her. God bless from all at the Nunkery, Father John. P.S. Why don't you write a letter to God? I do sometimes.
Which, of course, she does. And maybe we'll look at that one another time. But it's just been so lovely for us. Thank you for the emails about Andromeda, because it just reminded us of her, didn't it? And of that complex situation where part of your life you've heard one thing, and whether you're a child or an adult, there's always time to be open to hearing another thing. And I come back to that. No, I can't make a coot. Not very good at making a goose. And it just reminds us, and I think that's why people love to go into nature and love to go into nature, go to places that are beautiful, because somehow it's easier to trust God. How did you feel looking at Andromeda?
Well, it reminded me of two things. One was something someone said to me today. Someone today said to me, I've got a whole copy of all of the Father Brown stories, the ones written by G.K. Chesterton, which I've always loved, and I've got to throw some books away. Do you want it?
So I said, and you said no.
I said yes, I absolutely do want it. As long as the stories are the original ones and not the ones on the television I can't stand. So he said, no, they're all the original ones. And that reminded me of the fact that much of what I've written, good or bad, is based on the joy of reading Father Brown's answers to people's questions. When they ask something, he doesn't draw the answer from the draw-marked answers to questions. He draws it from somewhere else. And that reaching out into a different world or a different area of thought was so attractive to me. And I think just hearing that dialogue there, I mean, it's not up to Brother Brown's standard, but it reminds me of the pleasure I had in thinking to myself, well, what would he say? Not what should he say, or what would be theologically correct or anything like that, but what would he say? I remember, I don't know if we mentioned this the other day, but the same Father John in another book actually is asked a question. The question is, why do you allow so many dreadful things to happen to us? And I'm not going to tell you what his answer was, but I do know that when I was searching for what he would say, I looked into his head, not mine. I don't even know what that means. That's not a holy thing. It's just a thing that happens when you know a character really well. And the answer isn't the answer you'd normally get. And I do value that. Yeah, it's interesting hearing.
And in terms of the big question about Andromeda growing up, I think we'll keep her a little bit where she is, with all her questions and her complications and her broken lemur, or rather femur, and some good things that don't complete her story but just open it up a little bit later in the book. So if you've never come across the horizontal epistles of Andromeda Veal, I've no idea where you can get hold of it now. It isn't in print.
You could probably get it second hand.
Have a look. Might cost you £1 or £2, and you might find her very annoying. But I think you'll find Gerald's relationship with her, Auntie Anne's relationship with her, and Adrian's love for her, as well as Father John and God.
It's an interesting exercise in working out where love comes from and what it does for people.
And it would be lovely to hear from you where love touched you. Who was that special person like Father John when you were a child? Or maybe you can't think of somebody, but I think you probably can.
Yeah. Where did you find the answers? Yeah. Anyway.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Nice to look back. Bye.